Guys, we're already at video number 21, and for this video, we will still be discussing task 1 writing, academic, and for this particular video, it's gonna be all about how to describe maps. And so I've chosen this task, which I extracted from Cambridge 10 or 11, I believe. And so what you can see here are maps of a particular city hospital in two time frames. That's from 2007 and 2010. But so there are the 27 there are the 27 figures, and then the 2010 figures are over here. So you can see some changes with regard to the traffic flow. For maps, let me first go into the this is now what we call the architecture of language in the mind, which I first discussed in video number 19. So, just very briefly, as a summary, if you remember, we talked about how language is one of those uh, uh, human skills that involve the entirety of the mind. So when you talk about language in the mind, you're really talking about the left hemisphere, which is really the mathematical hemisphere of our brain, and that's the part which contains the linguistic components. And then on the right hemisphere, you can see the more global aspects of the brain, and this therefore contains the semantic components of language. So again, language really encompasses both hemispheres of the brain working together in conjunction in order to perform the functions that language requires of us. And then for the linguistic components, we now can see the IELTS criteria of grammatical range and accuracy, and of course lexical resource. And as regards to the semantic component, you can see the important criterion of task achievement and coherence and cohesion. So these four are now officially the four IELTS criteria that are being used to evaluate your essays. Now, when it comes to task 2 writing, if you remember, we've been talking about cardinal rule 2. So cardinal rule 2 states that everything that's in the essay should be expounded, expanded, explained, and elaborated. So that falls under the criterion of task achievement. This is for task 2 writing. Now, we've been talking about as well the various problem solving approaches like the A1 and the A2 style, the B1, B2, and B3 style, as well as the hybrid C styles, the C1 and C2 styles. And these all together fall under the criterion of coherence and cohesion. So when it comes to task 2, you can see that these two criteria are critical. So if you miss any one of these criteria, then that's no longer a band 7. So that's why I keep emphasizing on cardinal rule 2, and I also keep emphasizing on the correct problem solving approaches. Language aspects as regards to task 2 is important but not as critical as the semantic components. So you've seen a lot of actual passer essays that I've shown you in the past, and I will be showing you in the future. And you can see that these essays do have their own errors, but they were still able to score a minimum band 7 precisely because they focus on the semantic components of cardinal rule 2 as regards to the bullets and problem solving approaches, the correct problem solving approach. But when it comes to task 1, it now becomes more difficult because language now becomes a very critical factor as well. So that's what many of the students say, that task 1 is indeed very linguistic. So again, for the language components, watch out for the tensing. If you get the tensing wrong all throughout, then I can already say that that's already a band 6, no matter how strong the other aspects are. Nominal traps now refer to nouns or noun phrases, and There are indeed many tasks which contain nominal traps, and the map that I'm about to show you is one of them. And then, so watch out for the nominal traps as well. Please don't forget that every task one has to have an overview which encapsulates what the data reveals in a sentence or just two sentences. And then, of course, there's the important criterion of the cluster, meaning your ability to detect similar data and group them together, as well as your ability to highlight significant data and ignore the less than significant ones. So these are now what we call the four attributes, and we use that term because your band 7 actually relies on these four attributes. And if you have problems in any one of the four attributes, then that's no longer a band 7. So task 1 is really tougher. But thankfully, task 1 is only a third of your grade. So, for example, in task 1, if you score a band 6 for this task, but you're still able to score a band 7 for task 2, then the combined net result is still a band 7. That being said, we will still try to hit a band 7 for task 1 through the lessons that we're having today. So, having having reminded you of that lesson on the architecture of language in the mind, let's now go into the map itself. So, as you can see from the description, the two maps below show road access to a city hospital in 2007 and 2010. So, summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. You are required to write at least 150 words. So as we can see from the 2007 figures, there you go. You can see that the city hospital is right there in the middle, and it's surrounded by ring road. And then there's an access going to the hospital, which is what we call hospital road. And all around the hospital road are the bus stops, as indicated in the legend over here. And to get to hospital road, you'll have to traverse the main city road. So let's look at the tensing. So this is all in 2007. So the tensing, of course, should be in the past. And then when we're now considering the nominals, so we'll have to consider that ring road, for example, apparently is the name of a road here. So this is now what we call a proper noun. And so as is the feature of proper nouns, we do not precede that with any article. We'll just say ring road. And secondly, we should spell that out capitalized. So with a capital R and R. And then for the city hospital, we can see that this is really not the name of the hospital, because I was able to determine that by looking at this road access to a city hospital. So it is clear from the task description that this is a generic term. So now the city hospital should be described with an article. So with a or with a article the. And then please make sure that you do not capitalize the C and the H. So city hospital here is what we call a common noun. So it's not really the name of a hospital. But ring road is the name of a road, so that has to be capitalized. Similarly with hospital road, that apparently is the name of a road, so we have to capitalize that, and we shouldn't precede that with any article. And then city road is apparently the name of the road as well, so we do not precede that with any article, and we should make sure to capitalize the name of that road. So among the nominals, we have three proper nouns: city road, hospital road, and ring road. The rest apparently are just common nouns like city hospital and car park, staff, and public. So staff car park and public car park. So as we can see from the 2007 figures, the staff car park and the public car park are together on the eastern side of Hospital Road. So that's as regards to the nominals. Let's now go into the yeah, we already discussed the tensing, the past. Um, So let's now proceed to the cluster. So apparently when it comes to the cluster, do remember that in maps you really have to begin from a certain point of reference. So let's assume that point of reference is from this point. So we are traversing City Road going west. And then now through the power of your words, which is what we call the language of space or spatial language or directional language, we will now lead the reader throughout the map. Even if the reader were blind, the reader would still be able to see the map, so to speak, through the power of our spatial language. So you traverse City Road going west, and then from there you turn right at the intersection into Hospital Road. And then we will now describe the bus stops as we arrive at Hospital Road. And then we will also describe the car park, the staff car park and the public car park. Then we will now mention that we will now be turning right to Ring Road. Uh, as we traverse Hospital Road, we will arrive at the main entrance of Hospital Road, and we will see that in order to exit the venue, we will now have to traverse the encircling ring road in order to exit the said hospital. All right, and then for the overview, um, I guess there is no space for an overview yet. We will have the overview when we can see the 2010 figures. Okay, so let's now move into 2010. So let's now begin from a certain point. By the way, let's look at the nominals again. So we can see roundabout over here. So that's another common noun. So it's not capitalized. It's not a name of a road. It's a description of a road, a roundabout. And then bus station over here. So apparently this is not the name of a road. The name of a bus station. It's just a generic term, bus station. So make sure you do not capitalize that letter B over there. That's a trapper as well. And then staff car park. So again, do not capitalize the S over there. That's a generic term as well, a common noun. And similarly with public car park, do not capitalize the letter P. So the only nominals that we capitalize are City Road, Hospital Road, and Ring Road. And as we can recall, we should not precede the proper nouns with any articles. And so the tensing is still in the past. Okay, it's at 2010. Or alternatively, what you can use is the past perfect tense, which uses the auxiliary verb had plus the main verb. So like had changed, had been moved, had improved. That's another option for the tensing. Either the simple past, which is just for example improved or changed, or we can say had changed or had improved. Okay, and then let's now go into the cluster. So we will again begin by from a certain point of reference, and then we will go down City Road over here, and at which point we will arrive at the first roundabout. And then turning right at this roundabout will lead us to the main access road, which is Hospital Road. And at this point, we will now describe the changes that happen to the bus station and changes that happen to the car park, wherein the staff car park has been separated from the public car park. And then let's now go further down, further north, and then we will arrive at another roundabout to arrive at the entrance to the hospital. So, and then as we can see, there really is no need to traverse Ring Road anymore if we didn't want to, because there is a second roundabout that was established which allows us to merely exit through this roundabout going south there. So at this point, so that's the cluster. So at this point, we can now see that we have an overview statement, and the overview now can simply state that there have been changes as regards to the traffic flow towards the city hospital, and particularly the changes were in the bus station, which in which the numerous bus stops were now incorporated under a single structure. And then we can also cite that two roundabouts were created going into the hospital in order to improve traffic flow and in order to prevent any intersections, which would normally entail that some of the cars would be at a stop while some of the cars would be crossing the intersection. So with a roundabout instituted, there is no more need for any of the cars to stop. So this is gonna improve traffic flow. And then the third overview is that we can cite that the staff car park and the public car park were separated accordingly, apparently to improve traffic, the traffic as well, maybe to improve security, and also to distinguish the car park that is reserved for staff and the car park that the uh, uh, public users of the hospital should be using. All right, so that's it. Those are the four attributes for this map. So for the next video, what I will be doing is I will now be writing the essay live, and that video will be a more public video because this video is really more private for my students, for you, my dear student. So what I did here is I just demonstrated how to uh, identify the four attributes as regards to maps. But for the next task, what we will be doing is we will be writing it live without the lessons anymore. Okay, if there are any questions, don't forget to just comment in the comment boxes below, or you can just message me. And guys, don't forget to click subscribe. And then I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everyone.